Hello, friends, and welcome. My name is Papa, and today we're playing some more Steins Gate. What did we even do last time? Oh, well, I guess first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. If I haven't wished you that already, Happy New Year. Trying to remember what we did last time. Right, last time we finished up the Moeka arc, which was super creepy. Basically, we found out that Facebook was actually our landlord, and when we went to confront him on it, he kills himself. And then his daughter runs away, only to come back and kill Moeka later. Then we go back in time because we're like, why would his daughter kill Moeka? Thank you. We found out that Facebook was actually our landlord. I mean, not not that far out of the realm of possibility. Maybe Amazon will be our new landlord. We'll see. But yeah, we went back in time because we're like something's not right with this child. So instead of doing what we did last time, we tail her, find out that she is in fact herself from the future, come back in time to murder Moeka, and then wait 15 years and kill us again and repeat that cycle. And that finally answered the question of who was using our time machine when we weren't there. And yeah, we finished off with us having undone Moeka's D-mail and realizing we only have one D-mail. Yeah, someone was using the time machine when we weren't there. So there was one scene where we are coming back from somewhere. I can't remember where it was. Probably Moeka's apartment, I'm guessing, just based on the timeline. And we see the flash go off from our time machine, and everything shakes because we're making a black hole, almost the size of Tokyo. And he checks the computer logs, and apparently the logs are wiped after someone does a time leap. So we were trying to. He's like, okay, someone's using the time leap machine that isn't us, but we don't know who it is, and we have no way to find out right now. So it turns out it was her. She used the time leap machine to, and remember, the time leap machine can only go back. What was it, like 48 hours from when it was made or something? It can only go back a certain point, like a certain number of hours back from, 48 hours of time. Thank you. So she jumped back 15 years, 48 hours at a time. And she said she made several mistakes, and that would be like an ideal amount if you were to chain it instantaneously, which obviously you can't. And she made mistakes and had to redo some days. And basically it was as if she time traveled back 30 years, 48 hours at a time, just to kill one person. So yeah, that was a fun time. And finally, once we had undone Moeka's D-mail about IBN 5100, which we now have back, our character realized there's only one D-mail left to undo. We don't care about the lottery one, apparently. Apparently that one is so inconsequential we don't care about it. But the one we have left is the one where we said Christina is dead. By undoing that, we are going to kill her. That is what we discovered at the end of last episode. It's about 2,738 time leaps for 15 years. And then she said probably double that because of her mistakes and the fact that you can't do it instantaneously. So you're looking at probably just over 5,000 time leaps. So yeah. So yes, that's where we are. One thing I did want to point out is I also have the other two ending save file up to date. And check this out. So we are on this save file, which is called Stardust Sky. And you notice we're on chapter 10. Look at this one. We're also on chapter 10 at the exact same dialogue, but it's called Paradox Meltdown. That is the signal that we are on a different route for the final chapter. I will admit I was super worried I'd mess something up, even though I'm like following a guide and there's only like 5 things I have to get. And I knew we got all of them, but until I saw that message, I thought for sure I'd messed up. But yes. So today we're working on Stardust Sky ending. I don't know if we're going to get it based on what we've seen previously. Each chapter takes approximately 2.5 episodes to do. So we might have 2 episodes for this. And then this chapter, the Paradox Meltdown, has 2 different endings inside of it. So we'll get to one of the choices, which is fairly early. We'll save before that choice. And we'll split off the saves, and we'll do one ending, and then we'll do the other ending. So yeah, without further ado, we will start the Stardust Sky ending. I thought that I had found the solution, that everything would be alright. But the equation was meaningless. I had solved nothing. Instead, I'm left with a terrible choice. Mayuri? Kurisu. One of them must die. I'd also like to point out this game has no audio for whatever reason here. Let me just quickly double check that's not something dumb on my end that I didn't like turn it down as I was doing the alternate ending, or the alternate save file, I mean. I don't think I did, and if I did, I definitely would not have done it in the config here. Yeah. Okay, it just has no volume, but that should come in soon. Rodicon is still off limits. They haven't yet repaired the hole that Sousa's time machine made. I look down through the hole at the streets of Akiba. From up here, they look narrow and stifling. Okay, there we go. Now there's sound. Across the way, a train rumbles by. I watch the yellow striped cars move past. I came here because I wanted to be alone. The day before yesterday, I abruptly cancelled the attempt to hack CERN. Kurisu and Dara demanded an explanation, but I just couldn't give them one. The decision has paralyzed me. 2 days later, I'm still nowhere close to finding an answer. What do I do? 2 weeks ago, on July 28th, Dr. Nakabachi held a press conference in this very spot. The same day, Kurisu was murdered. Let's say we go through with the plan and delete the first email I sent, the one about Kurisu's death, from CERN's database. That would return us to the Beta World line where it all began. What would happen then? According to my predictions, our friend, lab member 004, Issei Kurisu would disappear. Someone who died on July 28th cannot be alive now on August 15th. That would defy causality. A time paradox. That world line has already rejected her existence. The moment we erase the D-mail, Kurisu will cease to exist. And so, I am left with 2 options. Option 1. Hack CERN, the IBN 5100, and erase the first email I sent, thus returning to the Beta World line. Irish, how are you doing, my friend? Kurisu will disappear, but Mayuri will live. CERN will never build a time machine, and the future will be free. Option 2. Don't hack CERN. Keep living here on the Alpha World line. Mayuri will die, so will Moeka, and Facebook. Kurisu will likely be kidnapped by CERN. At the very least, she won't die. The research. CERN will gain control of space-time, and the future will be a dystopia where no one is free.
どちらか選べ。だと。
Ridiculous. I choke out a laugh. How am I, of all people, supposed to make that choice?
こんなの選べるわけないだろ。
I don't really care about the future, whether it's free or ruled by CERN. I know I should care. Suzuha entrusted her wish to me. Doesn't that make it my responsibility? But still, it doesn't seem quite real. 20 years is a long time. Right now, only Mayuri and Kurisu matter. I must choose which to save. If I had been given this choice back on July 28th, before this all started, I probably would not have hesitated to abandon Kurisu and save Mayuri. But it's not July 28th, August 15th. I've spent 2 long weeks with Kurisu. He's one of us now, an integral part of the lab. Python says to kill Mayuri. As I leapt through time again and again, he was the person I relied on most. Always calm, always thoughtful, always ready with a new hypothesis, always there to give me a push when I needed it most. I wouldn't even have the time leap machine if not for Kurisu. Thanks to her that I made it this far. After all she's done for me, there's no way I can abandon her now. But nor can I let Mayuri die. Everything I've done, I did to save her. I would give anything, even my own life, to see her safe. More than anything, I want her to live. No matter what, I won't let her die.
結局どっちも選べない。選べるわけがない。
Kill Kurisu or kill Mayuri. That is what this choice comes down to.
こんな結末なのかよ。
Drive my fist into the wire fence.
鈴葉やフェイリスやルカ子や萌えか、みんなの思いを犠牲にしてまでたどり着いたのがこんな結末なのかよ。
Is there no other option? No way to save them both? What if I use Suzuha's time machine? I can return to the Beta World line, then use her time machine to travel to July 28th. No, that won't work. The reason Suzuha leapt to 2010 was to prevent CERN from creating a dystopia. It only occurs on this world line. On the Beta World line, she'll have no reason to leap to 2010. Suzuha's time machine won't exist, so I won't be able to use it. Alright, what if I send Kurisu a warning via D-mail? I could say, don't go to Dr. Nakabachi's presentation. Thank you for the lurk, Vox. The World Line C. We haven't even got... It's taken us this long to even have a shot of getting to the Beta World Line. I don't even want to know... Maybe that's the next game, getting to World Line C. No, that won't work either. Remember, causality converges. Kurisu's death is inevitable on the Beta World line, just as Mayuri's is inevitable on this world line. No matter what I do, fate will ensure her death.
ダメだ。
I slowly sink to the floor with my back against the fence.
俺は助けられない。
Powerless against the will of fate. Can we be sure she cannot be saved on the Beta World line? Okay, so here's where he's thought of. So right now we can delete the message from CERN's database. That will bump us to the Beta World line. Now, doing so will move us to the Beta World line at the current date, at August 15th. As soon as we do that, we don't have the time leap machine, so we can't go back in time. And Kurisu's not there to build it, so we just can't go back in time unless one of them magically has learned how to do it. I I guess they have an infinite amount of time to teach the other person right now, in theory. And then he was talking about, what if we sent her a D-mail when we're on the beta world line to warn her so that she doesn't die from whoever murders her. And then he was saying, we tried that, causality happens, even if we warn her, something else will happen and she will die because of causality. And then he was talking about, what if I went to the beta world line, took Suzuha's time machine, and then went back. But then he's like, wait, Suzuha's time machine doesn't go back on the beta world line because there's no need to, because there's no dystopian universe. That's as far as he's gotten. The only way I can possibly see it working is if he time leaps back enough times that he learns how to build the time leap machine himself, so when he gets to the beta world line, he can go back in time enough times. Or when he gets to the beta world line, he can build it, but even then, he can only go back 48 hours from when he built it, and if it takes longer than 48 hours to build, he's still kind of stuck. That's as far as my thinking gets me currently. So unless he can build it faster than 48 hours, he can't actually go back in time more than August 13th. Yes, if he could build it enough times to be able to build it in 24 hours, then yes. He could, in theory, go back, like, 2 days ahead 2 days, essentially going back a day of progress at a time. What should I do? What should I do? Maybe. Maybe Mayuri doesn't die on the current world line. I cancelled Mocha's D-mail, plus I haven't had an opportunity to check the divergence meter since. Might there be a chance? No, we're not writing that letter. I had to live through that letter 3 times. I had to live through that 3 times. First time, normal playthrough. Second time, because we did the Suzuha ending and we didn't save just before the trigger, because that was the first time we'd encounter that, and I didn't see it. Then I had to relive it to get to that trigger, and then a third time to get through it on the perfect ending file. I've lived through that letter 3 times. If the pattern continues, Mayuri's death has been pushed back to the night of the 17th. Mayuri doesn't die between 7 and 8 p.m. that night, and I won't have to face this horrible decision. I know it's unlikely. I understand that from all my experiences so far. But still, I can't help but cling to that hope. Mayuri and Kurisu. If I can just save them both. And I don't care if the future is ruled by CERN. I'll betray Suzuha's dream if that's what it takes. But please, let Mayuri live. To whom should I make this desperate plea? God? Fate? The universe itself? Either way, I am just one insignificant human among billions. My prayers truly reach. I already know what the answer will be. And that knowledge, that certainty, is despair. Kamiyama runs for 3 straight days, from the 15th to the 17th. The last day, I go with Mayuri and stay with her from morning until Kamiyama closes. It's not really my thing, though, and the crowd is ridiculous. I wait off to the side with Mayuri's bags. From time to time, Mayuri appears with new bags for me to guard, and usually a snack for us to share, but most of the day I spend alone. To some extent, I'm here to escape reality, empty my mind, and forget my fears. Even when I close my eyes, I can still hear the footsteps of death approaching. That's what the footsteps of death sound like. It's already dark by the time the bus drops us back at Akiba. Mayuri is dragging her costume case behind her. I'm carrying bags covered in moe artwork, loaded with doujinshi. These are all Mayuri's purchases, not mine. I can't believe she bought so much. I guess the reason she doesn't cosplay herself is that she's too busy shopping. She also doesn't have the money, because cosplay is already expensive, and she's bought so much stuff that she needs another person to carry it home. Get off the bus and just stand there for a while.
マユリはこれからどうするんだ？まっすぐ家に帰るか？
ラボに行こうと思ってたんだよ。
何か用事が？
特にないけどね。オカリンと一緒に久々にのんびりしたいなって。ちょっとお腹が空いたからね、途中でジューシー唐揚げナンバーワンを買うの。
Maybe Mayuri wants a taste of normalcy again, now that the chaos of Kamima has ended. I can't begrudge her that. I stifle a groan and shrug my shoulders.
じゃあ帰るか。
ねえねえオカリ、今日はね、どうしてマユシーについてきてくれたの？これまでは一度もコミマに一緒に行ったことないよね。オカリーは萌えには興味ないもんね。
ロボットアニメには興味はある。
Of course he would like robot anime. Not so much that I'd line up early in the morning for Kamima each year like Daru and Mayuri do.
で、どうして今日は付き合ってくれたの？
それは。
To confirm your death. Those words pop into my head, but I quickly shake them away. Why am I so set on Mayuri dying? I want her to live, remember?
それは？
気まぐれだ。
そっか。
Suddenly, silence. A downhearted frown replaces the usual smile on Mayuri's face. Did my answer upset her? Not like I could tell her the truth. How do you tell someone they're gonna die?
ルカ子が
I frantically try to smooth things over.
コスプレして恥ずかしがっているところを見て笑ってやろうと思ったのだが、来ていなくて残念
Aim
だ
to
った。
laugh at him. Too bad he didn't come so I could laugh at his misfortune.
ルカ君、絶対大人気になっちゃうのにね。いろんなブログに画像アップされまくってね、新聞社のニュースサイトにも載って海外にも紹介されちゃったりするよ。そしたらルカ君はワールドワイドなスーパースターなので、マユシーはそれを見て遠いところに行っちゃったなーって思いを馳せるのです。
I think you've thought about this way too much, my friend.
本当にそうなりそうだから困る。
ねえ、オカリ。
Suddenly, Mayuri turns around, peeks at my face as she walks backwards.
今日はね、ありがとう。
なんだ突然。
だってね、さっきも言ったけど、オカリンと一緒にコミマ来たの初めてだもん。マユシーは結構嬉しかったよ。
Smile finally returns to Mayuri's face.
でもね、次はオカリンもコスプレしてくれるともっと嬉しいかも。
ああ、考えておく。
That's right, don't think negative thoughts. Think about a fun, bright future.
いいの？本当に？
Said he'd
マユリ自
consider
身も
it.
コスプレして参加するならな。それだけじゃなく、ルカ子と、それとクリスティーナも呼ぼう。
Aha, there's the loophole. We can't do it all together if Christina's dead.
そこまでできたなら、真打ちとして、この俺が狂気のマッドサイエンティスト、法院京馬として、コミマに降臨しようではないか。
The next Kamima takes place this winter. We'll all be there, as if none of this ever happened. All of us laughing and smiling together, Just imagine a future like that.
そっか、道は険しいね。でもね、今ちょっと想像してみたらとっても楽しそう。それにクリスちゃんはコスプレに興味津々みたいだったし、脈あるかも。
I mean, she's openly expressed that she's kind of interested in it. I don't know if you'd call that secret at this point.
マユシ、頑張ってみるね。
Yes, on the beta world line, he won't have the, the number thingy. The name of it escapes me too. Divergence meter, there it is. You can actually buy, real divergence meters that are like clocks and stuff. They look super cool. I would never spend that much money on it, but it looks amazing, and I kind of want one, just not for like $200. We arrive at the lab. Look up at the second floor, but there's no light in the window. Oddly enough, there's nobody here today. I've got a bad feeling about this. You want one to program to randomly change divergence by tiny amounts at random day-month intervals? You could tie it to... You could just tie it to some kind of like open API like Twitter or something. Just like get a random user and then like a random post, and I don't know, like count the characters in that post and then go up or down. You could do some interesting things with it. Is Moeka going to ambush us? The previous world line, I forgave Moeka and Tenoji, but that has already been undone. This is a new world line. Rounders are still alive. They're still after the time leap machine. Fair enough, yeah.
マユリ、ここでちょっと待ってろ。
Motion for her to sit and wait on the bench in front. Then I carefully check the area. I know my efforts are likely futile, but still, I want to do anything I can. Anything to give Mayuri a chance, however small, of surviving on this world line. Something tells me it would be foolish to go straight up to the lab, but that's what they'll be expecting, so let's just go straight up to the lab. But first, I decide to check the street for any suspicious people. I carefully walk down the streets towards Kura Maebashi Dori, careful to always keep Mayuri in sight. Suddenly, a white station wagon parked at the end of the street fires its engine and takes off in our direction. I can see clearly through the front window. The man in the driver's seat is unfamiliar. But I have seen that station wagon before. The same one Moeki used to run us over on a previous world line. The same one Tenoji used to transport the IBN 5100. And now, it's bearing down on me at full speed. I'm in the center of the road. There's nowhere to run. The station wagon flips on its high beams, instantly turning my vision white. Can't move. It's all happening too fast. I expected an ambush inside the lab. Instead, I'm facing a charging car. What do I do? I'm fine. I won't die. This world line hasn't approved that fate. No, wait. What day is it? This is the first time I've made it to the 17th. Does that mean my death is still undecided? Will I die in Mayuri's place? That will save her. That will end this. Then maybe it's for the best. No, I don't want to die yet. Two contradictory emotions collide in my mind. My body doesn't know which way to turn. Will I be the one to die? No. No, it won't be us. Something slams into my back. And goes crunch. I open my eyes. I'm lying on the side of the road. Whole body hurts, but I don't appear to be seriously injured. Someone saved me? I'm gonna put a warning right here. I don't know what's gonna happen if she gets run over. And if she does, what they'll show. So, if that's not your cup of tea, you can look away for a bit. I look up to see the station wagon's taillights disappearing around the corner. And there, lying in the center of the road, is Mayuri. I run to her side. Mayuri is bleeding from the head. The pavement is slick with blood. Did she protect me? That's not what I wanted. I lift her body up in my arms. Her eyes twitch, then slowly open.
おかり。
まゆり。ごめん。俺のせいで。
Her hand wanders, as if seeking something. It reaches for the starry sky. Her eyelids are heavy. They could close any second now. Still, she looks straight into my eyes. For some reason, she smiles.
やっとマユシーはオカリンの役に立てたよ。
何を。
Stardust handshake. Her delicate fingers grasp at the sky. But all they find is empty air. Her arm goes limp. I grab her hand before it hits the ground. Mayuri is no longer breathing. I've seen her die countless times. This time, it's too much. This time, it's all my fault. I embrace Mayuri's tattered body, her lifeless, motionless, tattered body. I clench my jaw, bite back my tears.
まゆり、ここからじゃあんまり星が見えないな。こんなのあんまりだろう。
Why did she have to die like this? What possible meaning could this death have? Yes, it happened because fate demanded it. Yes, her death is unavoidable, the result upon which this world line converges. I knew from the beginning that this would happen, but I never imagined that she would die, saving me, and with a smile on her face.
やっと役に立てたって。一体どういう意味なんだよ。なあ。
There is no future for Mayuri on this world line. That brings me, once again, to the choice. Do I return to the Beta world line, killing Kurisu? Do I leave things as they are, accept Mayuri's death? I can't run away. I am the one who twisted fate. I am the one who must decide. Well, welcome to another chapter of Mayuri Deaths. It will be very depressing and sad, and potentially a bit gory. The sky is blue. I'm on the roof of Rodicon, going back 56 hours with 2 time leaps. I lean against the wire fence and stretch out my legs as I look at the sky. I wanted more time to think, that's why I came back. Last time, I spent 2 days refusing to face reality. That is no longer an option now that I've confirmed Mayuri's death. This time, I need to reach a decision. But how? This equation has no solution. No matter what choice I make, someone dies. From a purely utilitarian viewpoint, I should choose the beta world line, for CERN never creates dystopia. But it's not that simple, not for me. There must be some other way. According to Suzuha, 2010 is a point of great divergence at the attractor field level. I think that divergence has already commenced by the time I sent the D-mail reporting Kurisu's death. So when did divergence begin? Can't say for sure, but I think it was the moment we completed the phone wave. Name subject to change. I was right around the middle of July. Daru and I deemed it a failure right after completion. By the time Kurisu was killed, there was already a huge divergence at the attractor field level. Now that I think about it, reading Steiner activated that day when I sent the D-mail that started it all. No duh! Because you changed something. At that moment, every pedestrian and vehicle on the main street of Akiba suddenly vanished. That feels so long ago, like it was, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. But now, I can finally explain it. That was the moment I moved to the Alpha World line. On the Beta World line, where this all began, Suzuha didn't arrive in her time machine. Dr. Nakabachi's conference went ahead as planned. The flow of tourists and shoppers through Akiba was unimpeded. But when I sent the D-mail, events changed on a huge scale, from my perspective at least. On the current world line, Suzuha crashed her time machine onto the roof of Radicon. Nakabachi's presentation was cancelled, as part of Akiba is closed to traffic. Because I was out on the street when the world line changed, it appeared to me as if thousands of people suddenly vanished. The truth is, they were never there to begin with. Like a magician's trick, it's so obvious once you understand how it works. The real problem is the timing of the D-mail. I moved to the Alpha World line after Kurisu died. If I'd sent the D-mail before she died, I might have been able to intervene, even now, on this world line. But no, that would defy causality. I sent that D-mail because I saw Kurisu's body. That's the way it has to be. Who killed her anyway? I still don't know. It definitely wasn't suicide. But if I identify the murderer and send them a D-mail warning them off, would that prevent her death? I mean, no one has tried to kill her on this world line, have they? Maybe there's a chance. However, to send that D-mail, I would first have to move to the Beta world line. The more I think about it, the more futile it seems. I've already seen Mayuri die countless times. Everything I tried to prevent it failed. I understand all too well. When fate wants someone dead, nothing can stop it. I can't save Kurisu.
いたいた。
Has to be which way, Samus's? Thought I was alone. It seems that I was wrong. Turn around to see Kurisu standing in the open door. I avert my eyes. I can't look her in the face. Not now.
こんなところで何してる？
いや、よくここが分かったな。
一人になりたいって言ってたから、確率的に見てここに一番いそうっていう回を導き出した。
Valkyrin says the D-mail can only be sent because he saw the body, but he doesn't consider that he could send it because he knows a possibility. Not sure I follow you completely, Samus's. So he's talking about, actually, do we still have the D-mail? The original D-mail that started it? No, we just have that we are a pervert. Yeah, we've talked. It's probably possible, assuming that it's physically possible to build the time leap machine in under 48 hours to get back to before she died. Assuming that is possible, then it's not impossible to get to a time before she died. I don't know how he would cancel his original D-mail that he sent because he saw her body. I don't know what he could send himself to convince him. And yeah, he... Basically, by going to the Alpha World line to the Beta, instead of it always being Mayuri dying, it'll always be Kurisu dying. And yeah, we'd have to find... whatever, World Line Charlie to break out of that, but then who knows, maybe in World Line Charlie we die. Who knows.
だったら一人にさせてくれ。わざわざ探さなくていい。俺は迷子の子供じゃない。
This is true. We don't necessarily know. He's just taking what he's seen in this world line and extending it to the other world line. Which isn't necessarily true. Yeah.
何よ、せっかく人が心配して探しに来たのに。いや、心配はしてないけど。
Right after she gets herself flustered, Kurisu sighs and puts on a serious expression.
私だってあんたのことなんて放っておこうかと思った。ただおとといの岡部なんか変だったから。まあいつも変なんだけど、いつも以上にって意味で。
Well, I guess we'll see, Samus's, because it sounds like in this one we're gonna go to the Beta World line.
くそまずいオートミール食べてる時みたいなしょげっぷりじゃない？何があった？
Crappy oatmeal?
何も。
だったらなんでセルンへのクラッキングをやめたの？
お前だってクラッキングは良くないと言っていただろう。
タイーホフラグが立ってビビったんですね。わかります。
せめて順法精神に目覚めたと言ってくれ。
全然らしくないな。いつもの独善的な態度はどこ行ったのよ。狂気のマッドサイエンティスト法王院京馬のくせに。
独善的でなんかいられるか。今回ばかりは独善的じゃいられないんだ。
I have forced my ego on others before. Suzuha, Varus, Lukiko. I sacrificed their dreams for the sake of my goal. I justified it by telling myself that it was necessary to save Mayuri. I weighed their suffering against the alternative, and made my self-righteous choice. By this time, the alternatives are impossible to compare.
仲間のどちらを見殺しにするかって決断を前にして独善的でいられたらむしろどれだけ楽だっただろうな。
どちらかを見殺しってどういう意味？
なあクリスティーナ、俺は所詮ただの学生なんだよ。狂気のマッドサイエンティスト法王院京馬、そんなの全部妄想だ、設定だ。気づかなかっただろ。
Really? We had no idea whatsoever.
いや、初対面時点でなんとなく気づいてましたが。
When we first met?
初対面か。
What if I hadn't found Chrissy's body back then? Let's try imagining that scenario. If I hadn't seen Chrissy dead, I wouldn't have interrogated her for the seminar at ATF. Without hearing me call her a zombie, she wouldn't have taken an interest in me. Wouldn't have come to the lab. Ultimately, would never have built the time leap machine, leaving me without the means to save Mayuri. Of course, Kurisu would not have become our friend. We would not be as close as we are right now.
答えて岡部。どういう意味なの？
I can't meet her questioning
どう
gaze.
しても言わないとダメか。
散々相談に乗ってやったでしょ。今さら遠慮するな。
It's not what this is
だった
about.
ら覚悟してくれ。これから話すのは相談じゃない。事実だ。お前にとっては死亡宣告になる。
え？
Chrissy's voice cracks a little.
俺は説明したよな。セルにクラッキングをすることでマユリが死ぬことのないベータ世界線へたどり着けると。
2036年のセルンのディストピアもなくなる。自由な未来が待ってるバラ色の世界線。
See, we don't actually know that either, technically. We have a theory that if we make it to the Alpha World line, there won't be this dystopia. But we don't actually know anyone from the future who has been able to tell us that. All we know is that it means CERN doesn't get our time machine. Doesn't have us make a time machine for them. It could just delay them like 5 years, 10 years to make it themselves.
バラ色なものかよ。元凶となった最初の D メール、その内容はお前にも見せたはずだ。ベータ世界線ではそのメールの内容が実際に起きた。
Kurisu is a genius. Have no doubt that she understands.
ベータ世界線ではお前は7月28日に死んでいるんだ、クリス。そしてそれはアトラクターフィールド理論による収束のせいでどうしても回避できない。マユリを救おうとするなら俺はお前を見殺しにしないといけないんだ。
Yeah, because if she dies, and we don't attempt to rebuild the time machine, all we know is that, one, we can't time leap again. I would like to assume that CERN and all these different attractor fields are still trying to create the time machine for their own nefarious deeds. But it's the thing of, if something's possible, it's only a matter of time before someone else figures it out. Even if it's a stupid long amount of time, like it's a millennia down the road, it's still probably gonna happen. It's the monkeys and the typewriter scenario. The idea that if you sat a monkey in front of a typewriter with an infinite number of paper, eventually he would be able to type every single book in existence. Just from sheer dumb luck. Kurisu says nothing. What expression is she making now? I reluctantly sneak a look at her face. She's staring out across the cityscape. Her eyes look distant. I see neither fear nor sadness in her face. She seems accepting. Kurisu is always like this. Always calm, no matter what. It's hard to believe she's younger than me. Her soft chestnut hair blows in the wind. She lifts a hand to hold it down.
ねえ、岡部。アトラクターフィールドってどこまで信憑性があると思う？
信憑性？
あれって全部ジョン・タイター、天音さんの受け売りでしょ。2036年時点ではスタンダードらしいけど、その時代の研究者たちは一体どうやってそれが正しいって証明したの？
理論が間違っていると言いたいのか。だが確かに収束は存在する。俺はそれを身をもって体験した。
Convergence can exist, but it could be a different model.
収束は正しいとしても、無限個に枝分かれした世界線が重ね合わせ状態になっているっていうのは？
俺が世界線を移動すると世界は再構成される。過去から未来までだ。
それって岡部の主観での話でしょ。あんたの脳が認識してる私はベータ世界線に行くと死んでるのよね。それはつまり私が死んでいる世界線と私が死んでいない世界線のうち、あんたの主観が前者を選んだってことになるわけだけど、あんたの脳が認識する世界と私の脳が認識する世界は別物かもしれないっていう可能性はないのかな。
Brains. Forgot her specialty was neuroscience, and now we sound like the zombie.
別物って世界が分裂するということか。
分裂というか電車みたいなものなのかも。
電車？
わかりやすい例を挙げると、
Easy example, heavy quotes. She takes out her phone and starts fiddling with it.
路線図で調べてみたけど、秋葉原から横浜に行くのにどの路線を選ぶか。
お前鉄オタだったのか。
Railroad fanatic, and I've talked with an interest in trains. I like trains.
違う、例えよ例え。あんたは山手線で東京駅まで出て、そこから東海道本線に乗るのを選んだ。
Christy keeps talking as she looks at her phone, apparently reading off an itinerary.
でも私は山手線で大崎まで行った後、湘南新宿ラインに乗った。もしかしたら別の人、橋田なんかはそもそもいきなり秋葉原から京浜東北線に乗っちゃうかもしれない。真由里なら東京から新幹線に乗るかも。岡部と私は東京駅までは同じ電車に乗ってるけど、そこからは違う線に乗って同じ目的地を目指している。
それを世界に当てはめるとパラレルワールドを主張するのか。
たまには私も妄想ぐらいする。でも世界が一つだと誰が証明した？
鈴葉の言葉と俺のリーディングシュタイナーが。
正体不明のタイムトラベラーと原因不明の特殊能力ね。
Yay for unexplainable superpowers.
鈴葉は正体不明では。
彼女が橋田の娘かどうか
We
は
are
誰にも
time
証明でき
vision
ない。
man.
2036年から来たかも。ディストピアのことも証明できない。実際に2036年にならないとね。そもそももしリーディングシュタイナーが正しいなら、あらゆる人間の記憶があんたの主観に引きずられてることになる。そんなの無理がありすぎる。もしそうだったら岡部は文字通り神よ。
I mean, I feel like we'd think we are a god.
でも現実には神なんていない。世界はあんたを中心に回っているわけじゃない。あんたの脳がそう錯覚させているだけ。世界にとってあんたが神だというなら、同体積の脳を持つ私も世界にとって神になれるわけで。
何が言いたいんだ。
We pull up
仮に
brains and compare
岡部の
sizes?
主観が
Is that where this
私
conversation
が
is
死ぬ世
going?
界線を選んだとして、私の主観も同じように私が死ぬ世界線を選ぶとは限らない。それは私の主観が ここに存在していることからもわかる。すでにこの世界線は私が死なない世界線なわけだから。あんたの主観がベータ世界線に行ってしまっても、私の主観はここに留まることだってできるのかもしれない。精神はどこにあるかって話。そして私は私の精神をあんたの好きにさせたくない。
科学者とは思えないほどのファンタジーな理論だ。
でも可能性はゼロじゃない。だからあんたは何も心配する必要はない。
Kurisu smiles. How can she smile? I just told her that she's going to die.
私を見殺しにできないって言って悩んでるのよね。でも今の私の仮説で言えば、私は別の可能性世界線で生き続けていける。だからそもそも岡部は悩む必要なんてない。
仮説は仮説だ。
アトラクタフィールド理論だって仮説。まだ誰にも何も証明されてないから。2036年時点では証明されていたとしても、その証明を今の私たちは確認できないから。そう考えれば未来の可能性は無限よ。
Kurisu turns her back to me after finishing. It's an armchair theory. A daring armchair theory that could, quite possibly, render meaningless everything I've done up to now. How can Kurisu stay so calm? She's just an 18-year-old girl.
ちなみに心配なんかしてくれなくてもいいから。岡部にそんなことされたら結構プライド傷つく。
そんな言い方。
Okay, we got a phone call from my
も
Eri.
しもし、
Oh, it's a video call, too.
マユリか。
Displayed on the screen is Mayuri's face, devoid of its usual brightness for some reason.
どうした？
あのね、ダル君から聞いたんだ。オカリンがなんだか変だったって。マユシーはコミマに夢中になってて、オカリンのことよく見ててあげられなかったね。いつもならオカリンが元気なかったらすぐに気づくのに。ごめんね。
Don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong.
でね、何かあったの？オカリン？
Can't tell her. I can't. Kept it a secret from her all this time. That's the way it has to be.
何もないよ。
そっか。あのね、前はよくマユシーにいろんな話してくれたよね。例えば機関には幹部が4人いて、それぞれゲップとスダチと声優とジャック。
What are these names? Back Turkish, Virginia Burp, Balloon Drag Queen, and Wide-Eye Gore?
玄武とスザクと清流と白虎だ。
Thank you for at least having sensible-ish names.
そうそう、それ。そういうね、オカリンのお話、とっても面白かったな。でも、ねえ、オカリン。あのね、マユシーのこと、重荷に感じてたら、言ってね。
そんなこと。
じゃあ、とりあえず切る
You're
ね。
a burden. Stop
もし
dying on
マユ
us.
シーにいろいろお話ししたいなって思ったら、いつでも電話してくれていいからね。じゃあ、トゥットゥルー。
She hung up on me.
まゆり なんだって？
Can I call her back? No. Do anything? No. I play games? No.
あいつ何が重荷だよ。勝手に自分を責めやがって。ふざけるなよ、クソ。いつもは空気を読めないくせに、なんでこういう時だけ。
重荷ね。
俺は一度だって真由里を重荷に感じたことはない。
だったらそれをはっきり言ってあげればいい。
Maybe it wasn't a good idea to leave Mayuri in the dark. Never looks like she's thinking anything, and yet she saw my doubt. Either way, I can't tell her the truth.
岡部。
Kurisu sighs, then glares at me.
これまでのあんたなら悩んだりしなかったはず。とりあえず真由里に会いに行くべき。あの子だっていろいろ思うところがあるんだろうし。
He's right. Even if I don't tell Mayuri the truth, I need to at least tell her something. I'll postpone my decision and go see Mayuri. It's afternoon, on the first day of Kamima. Crowds are finally beginning to thin out. Of course, the industry booths and cosplay areas are still packed, but at least I don't have to wait in line to get in. I've been trying to get in touch with Mayuri for a while now, but she hasn't responded. I checked with Daru, but he hasn't seen her today either. Cosplay ends at 4 p.m. Focused on searching the cosplay area until then, but I still can't find her. Maybe she finished early and went home? I try calling her home. No luck, they haven't seen her since she left this morning. Where is she? I'm always afraid that she'll disappear the second I take my eyes off her. It can't be quite yet, because her death here is confirmed on the 17th, and it's only the 15th. It's been like that ever since she lost her grandmother. Maybe it's just my imagination. Been so close for so long. Saw Mayuri at her weakest and most vulnerable. Maybe that has made me overprotective. But I don't care how other people see us. I just can't leave Mayuri alone. I step into the cemetery, the final resting place of Mayuri's beloved grandmother. When was the last time I came here? About a year after Mayuri became my hostage, I periodically accompany her here. But I don't think I've been here since I entered high school. Been about 3 or 4 years. As I get closer to Mayuri's grandmother's grave, I begin to hear a voice. Mayuri. I'd recognize her voice anywhere. It sounds like she's talking to someone. I approach quietly.
ねえ、おばあちゃん。
Mayuri is standing there, talking to the grave. What a relief, she hasn't disappeared. I decide to watch silently from a short distance away.
最近ね、
Hope that no one calls the
怖い
police
夢
on
をよ
us.
く見るんだ。
For a second, I wonder if she's learned to commune with the dead. No, she's just talking to herself.
その夢の中ではね、いつもマユシーはひどい目に遭うの。ピストルでバーンって撃たれたり、車の事故に巻き込まれたり、電車にひかれたり。
We have Mayuri death flashback dream sequence. Does that count? What? Don't tell me.
まるで本当のことみたいですごく痛くて、すごく悲しくて、誰か助けてって一生懸命声を出そうとするけど出せなくて、どうしてそんな夢見るのかな。
She remember her deaths? All of them? She inheriting memories like I do?
でね、その夢の最後はいつも決まってるの。マユシーが泣いてるとね、オカリンが助けに来てくれるんだ。マユシーはオカリンにありがとう、ありがとうって言うんだけど、その声もオカリンには聞こえてなくて、オカリンはマユシーを抱きしめてとっても悲しそうな顔をしてた。泣いちゃいそうだけど絶対に泣かなくてね。
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Just for her,
でも一生懸命
it's...
我慢してるのがわかるの。
I guess because sleep is closest to death for her, that's how it manifests itself. Like for Ferris, it was when she was in what would be Nian Queen squared. But for Mayuri, I guess sleep is like the closest to death for her, and that's how it manifests. I don't know. Just a theory. Come to think of it, both Ferris and Lukako remembered their memories from before the past changed. I used to think that memories couldn't be shared between world lines. I used to think that I was the exception with reading Steiner. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe everyone has the same power. The only difference is how strong it is. Maybe reading Steiner is nothing special after all.
だからマユシーも悲しくなってごめんね、ごめんねって言うけど、やっぱり声は届かなくて、そこでいつも目が覚めるんだ。どうしてこんな夢見るのかな。
I've failed so many times to save her. I've watched her die, again and again. Everything I've done has been to prevent that from happening. And yet, have the memories of those deaths been tormenting her as she sleeps? I bite my lip in frustration. I still have a terrible decision to make. Do I save Mayuri? Do I save Kurisu? No perfect ending here. Can't save them both. It's one or the other. Choose Kurisu, then Mayuri's dreams will become reality. I don't want Mayuri to feel any pain. Till now, I've thought only of saving her. That is my goal. But at the same time, I can't let Kurisu die. Again, my thoughts hit the same dead end. Mayuri hasn't noticed me yet. She's still staring at the sky, just as she was on the day I took her hostage. She's talking to her grandmother in heaven.
あ、そうそう。最近ラボメンがすごく増えたんだよ。クリスちゃんでしょ、萌香さん、ルカくん、フェリスちゃん、それともう引っ越しちゃっていないけどすずさん。8人だよ。すごいね。
Think you lost the stream. Okay, let me check quickly. Yeah, I do see it struggled a little bit for a second. Bit more than a second, actually. On this world line, they all became lab mems. However, not a single one of them has sent a D-mail.
最初はオカリンとマユシーの2人だけだったのにね。ラボができたばっかりの頃はね、オカリンはあんまり面白そうじゃなかったけど、最近はね、とっても楽しそうなんだよ。
That how she sees it? Well, she's not wrong. She really does know me, doesn't she?
そんなオカリンを見てるとね、マユシーも嬉しくなっ ニコできるの。それにね、賑やかだとウキウキしてくるし、特にクリスちゃんはね、アメリカの有名な本に論文が載ったりして、とっても頭がいいんだよ。マユシーは憧れちゃうのです。タイムマシンだって作っちゃうぐらいなんだから。あ、これはオカリンとダルくんも一緒に作ってたけどね。
Then Mayuri falls silent. Her gaze becomes distant. Stands still and looks up to the sky. What could she be thinking?
でもね、たまに思うんだ。最初、マユシーが押しかけて、ラボに二人きりだった時のこと。学校が終わってラボに行くとね、オカリンはいないの。でね、お部屋の片付けしたり、可愛い小物を飾り付けたりしてるうちに、オカリンが少し遅れてやってきて、マユシーがおかえりって言うと、オカリンはただいまとは言わなくて、ご苦労って偉そうに答えてた。その後は毎日2時間ぐらい2人でぼんやり過ごして、一緒に電車でお家に帰るの。その2時間はね、会話なんてほとんどなくて、でも嫌な沈黙とかじゃなくて、ただそこにいるっていう感じで、2人で並んでソファーに座って、オカリンはラボの作戦計画書みたいなのを書いてて、マユシーは漫画読んだりゲームしたりして、たまに思い出したようにね、一緒にお菓子を食べてた。とてもゆっくり優しく時間が流れてて、それでもいいかななんて思ったり、まるでマユシーは本当に人質になっちゃったみたいだなとかふと思って、一人でえへへって笑ったり。オカリンはニコニコしてるマユシーを見てね、こういうの。
I remember. It was 4 months ago. Still spring. The lab wasn't as lively as it is now. An isolated bubble of slow-moving time.
何かいいことでもあったのか？
あのね、いいことはなかったけど、あったよ。
そうか。幻想を見たのだな。それはもしかすると機関の幹部の一人、通称イリュージョンコンダクターからの攻撃である可能性がある。
そっか、じゃあ気をつけなきゃ。でもね、きっとそのイリュージョンコダクさんっていう人は
Illusion Kid Hugger?
コダクさんではない、コンダクターだ。
その人はきっと悪い人じゃないと思うな。
It was nothing. Just meaningless chatter to pass the time.
それはマユシーにはすごく心地よくて、なんだか泣きそうなくらい嬉しくて、このままずっと続いてほしいなって思ってた。あ、今の賑やかさが嫌ってわけじゃないんだよ。
He shakes her head in denial. Finally, she stops looking up at the sky and bows her head instead.
最近ね、オカリンと話す時間ちょっと減っちゃった。だからね、マユシーは寂しくなっちゃったのかもしれないね。
It's true, I haven't had the time to talk to her lately. That's because I've been fighting to prevent her death. To keep her dreams from coming true. all so that Mayuri will keep smiling. I never again want to see her cry like she did on that day her grandmother died.
でもね、オカリンの重荷にはなりたくないんだ。
That word again, burden. I never thought of her as a burden.
マユシーはいつもオカリンに迷惑かけてばっかりだから。ね、おばあちゃん。
Mayuri lifts her face once
い
more.
つまでもこのままじゃいられないよね。
このままでいい。
When I finally speak to Mayuri, she turns my way with a surprised expression. Her face is so soft, so innocent. Slowly, her lips curve into a smile.
オカリンだー。すごいね。どうしてここにいるってわかったの？
人質がどこにいるのか、俺は常に把握しているのだ。
人質。
だからお前は、俺の手からは逃れられん。絶対にだ。
そっか。でもね、あんまり無理したらダメだよ。マユシーはね、ちょっぴり心配なのです。
お前に心配されるほど、この法王院京馬はヤワではないのだ。マユリ、話せる時が来たら、すべて話す。
ほえ？
だから、それまでお前は何も変わらずにいてくれ。
Mayuri stands up and turns to the grave once more. As an offering, she leaves a brand new white lily, as well as some dongo dumplings.
オカリン、帰ろう。
帰る前に団子を食べるんだろ。
Back when we used to visit the cemetery together, part of our daily routine to eat dongo on the way back.
もちろんだよ。
Akiba is empty again today. The otaku have all made the exodus to Kamima for the second day of battle. But come nightfall, they will return to Akiba like a victorious army laden with spoils, and the streets will be chaos. I know Daru has gone to Kamima. The question is, how's Mayuri? Hope she has. I want things to be normal again. I remember what I heard yesterday. Feelings Mayuri expressed at her grandmother's grave. The events of the last few weeks have affected her as well. After I escorted Mayuri home from the cemetery, I spent the whole night racking my brain for a third option. A way out of this mess. My thoughts were a jumble, ideas coming and going too fast to judge which were right and which were wrong. Of course, there is no right choice here. For in the end, it always comes back to the same question. Who do I let die? And no matter how I try to dance around it, the answer is always the same. I can't choose. Is there no one else who can make this decision? No. Even if there were, I know I'd never accept their choice, whichever it happened to be. Once again, I'm heading for the roof of Rodicon. I had to get out of the lab. Mayuri or Kurisu might return at any moment. I can't face them now. I look up at the sky. Clouds are dark and heavy. It could start raining any minute now. I thought that I was alone. Someone was here before me. Kurisu's lying in the middle of the roof, arms and legs spread as if making a snow angel. The image of Kurisu in a pool of blood flashes through my mind. Is she alright? I run towards her. Before I make it halfway, she suddenly sits up and turns to face me.
岡部か。
生きてたか。
What a dumb thing to say. Fortunately, it looks like Kurisu didn't hear me. She's busy combing her disheveled hair with her fingers. I breathe a silent sigh of relief.
そっか。 ここだとあんたと会っちゃう可能性があること忘れてた。
何をしていたんだ。
考え事。
そうか。
Was she thinking about her death? I don't know what to say, so I keep my mouth shut. Kurisu appears to be in the same boat. She's staring at the capsule toy dispenser in the corner, face wearing the usual frown. The awkward silence drags on. When you think about it, Kurisu's fate rests in my hands. My decision will determine whether she lives or dies. Her fantastic hypothesis yesterday was a desperate attempt to construct a scenario where she doesn't die. Even if she believes that her theory is correct, it must be difficult for her to avoid imagining her own death. I force a smile, getting really uncomfortable here.
邪魔になっているようだから、俺はもう行く。
うん。
Damn, I was expecting a sarcastic remark like, "Since when do mad scientists have manners?" or something. Just then, something cold lands on the tip of my nose. I look up, raindrops start landing on my forehead. An evening shower. It's only to get more intense, and quickly. Kurisu hasn't moved a muscle. She's just standing there with her arms folded, staring at the ground as if she doesn't notice the rain at all.
おい、雨が降ってきてるぞ。
She's acting strange, like her mind is elsewhere. I knew it. She's been thinking about...
ってうわっ。
Less than a minute, the rain turns into a full downpour. I had no time to seek shelter. Kurisu's scream is drowned by the roar of the rain.
びっく
夕立を甘く見たな。
Now, safely inside the building, we take a moment to catch our breath. It's been a week since Suzuha's time machine disappeared, but Radicon is still closed. The lights are off, and it's pretty dark inside.
り。もっと早く忠告してよ。おかげで下着までびしょ濡れじゃない。
右に同じく。この暗さに助けられたな、助手よ。
どういう意味？
もしラジカンが営業していたら、今頃お前のあられもない姿が多くの人間の前にあらわにされていただろう。
Even in the dim light, I can tell that Kurisu is scrambling to cover her chest.
あんたも変態だってこと忘れてた。
自分から下着までびしょ濡れだと申告しておいてよく言う。
これ以上口聞かないで。下着の色とかよくも妄想したな。許さないから。
妄想などしてない。
I can see it. She's too self-conscious. But, color of her underwear, huh? Gotta be white.
冷えるか。
だから脱いで乾かせって。ふざけないで。変態の手に引っかかるもんか。
誰もそんなこと言ってないだろう。少し落ち着け。ま、たとえ服を脱いだとしても、この暗さだから案ずることはない。お前の貧相なヌード姿は誰にも見られることは。
それ以上喋るとあんたの大脳新皮質をポン酢につけて高級料亭で提供してやるんだから。
すまん。
Please spare me that horror. Still, these wisecracks are a welcome distraction.
夕立ならすぐに止むわよね。それまで待つか。
See Kurisu's shadowy form move to sit on the staircase. I sit next to her.
なんで横になんで
喋るなと言ったのはお前だ、クリスティーナ。
あんまり近くに来ないでよ。今ぐらいの距離が限界だから。これ以上離れるとは言わないけど、これ以上近づいたら押し返すからな。
Our bodies gradually grow cold. We start shivering. Maybe I should take off my wet clothes. If I do that, Chris will just call me a perv again. Better not. My eyes gradually adjust to the darkness. I can see Kurisu more clearly now. He's huddled up against the wall.
こっち見んな。
バカな。この暗さでは俺がどこを見ているかなどわからないはず。
You have infravision?
やっぱり見てたのか？
Damn, she used leading question on me. Such a high-level technique. I avert my eyes from Kurisu and take off my lab coat. That's when I notice my coat is torn at the shoulder.
屋上から避難した時にどこかに引っ掛けたか？
何の話？
いや、上着の肩口が破れかけていた。
岡部ってドジっ子だったの？
俺はマッドサイエンティスト属性であってドジっ子属性など持っていない。
Seems like forever since I've talked to Kurisu as Ho and Kyoma.
はいはい。
Kurisu suddenly holds out her hand.
ほら、貸しなさいよ。
何？
ちょうどソーイングセット持ってるから縫ってやると言っている。
ソーイングセットだと？お前が？
悪いか。
I hand over my coat as asked.
実験大好きっ子のくせにそんな家庭的なものを？
実験大好きっ子であると同時に家庭的な女の子かもしれないじゃない。
家庭的な女の子なのか？
相対的に見れば家庭的かもね。と言っても日本の女子高生の家庭的女の子指数がどれくらいか知らないけど。
An index for that? First I've heard of it. Kurisu skillfully threads the needle despite the darkness.
濡れてるから針が通りにくいな。
本当に偶然持っていたのか？
しつこい。そんなに私がソーイングセット持ってたら悪いの？
悪いとは言っていないが、まるで狙ったかのようだったからな。
つまりあんたが服を破ってしまうのを見越してあらかじめ用意していたって言ってもらいたいんですね。わかります。そんなわけあるか。それと勘違いしないでほしいんだけど、別に好きで縫ってあげてるわけじゃないんだからね。
出たな、ツンデレセリフ。
茶化すな。あんたが偶然服を破って、私は偶然ソーイングセットを持っていた。だから縫ってあげている。それだけ。
偶然ねえ、まさかお前タイムリープしているということはないよな。
つまりあんたが服を破ってしまったからタイムリープして事前にソーイングセットを用意したって言ってもらいたいんですね。わかります。そんなわけあるか、そんなわけあるか。大事なことなので2回言いました。アンダースタン？
確かにわざわざタイムリープして対策を練るならばソーイングセットではなくタオルを用意しておくのが先だからな。
何それ、皮肉？文句ばっかり。
Hello, Beardy. How's it going? After working for a while, Kurisu cuts the string with her teeth and hands me back my coat.
ほら。
ありがとう。
出来については暗くて確認できないけど、もし仮に出来が悪くても私の腕のせいじゃない。この暗さのせいよ、きっと。ちなみに糸の色についても何が出るかお楽しみに。
色もランダムなのか。
黒か赤かピンク。確率は3分の1。
せめてピンクが出ないように祈ろう。寒いか？
まあね。
俺の上着を羽織るか？
それだって濡れてるでしょ。
Yeah, I get that.
まあ そうだが
I'm doing alright. Yeah. It's kind of just been... You have over a minute delay? Jeez. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Today's my, like, last day off of vacation. I'll be back at work on Monday. So, well, I got the weekend, but today's like the last working day off I have. Silence again. The words flow so naturally when it's just harmless banter. 1 second of silence, and suddenly we have nothing to say. Must be because of what happened yesterday. So desperate to avoid the topic that nothing seems safe. I know I need to say something, but what?
結論は出た。
Yeah, I had a bit of a network issue. It still isn't the best. Also, Samus had said that Twitch had been having some problems earlier, so it could be deadly combination of internet sucks plus Twitch sucks. Her voice is barely a whisper. I can hear her clearly in the silence of the empty stairwell. I look at Kurisu. She's hugging her knees to her chest, presumably against the cold. My decision. I know what she means. That's why I can't answer.
まだ悩んでるの？あんたってまゆりのこと好きなんでしょ？
何
Where did that come from? Kurisu keeps staring into the
ただの
darkness.
錯覚かもしれないけど、私の心の中に奇妙な記憶というかデジャブみたいなものがある。そこではあんたはまゆりを助けようと必死になってて、一人で傷つきながらそれでも前に突き進もうとしてるの。
Kurisu too?
そんな岡部が私に相談をしてきて、そのひたむきに頑張ってる姿を見て
I mean, my network's looked okay for the past bit. It's weird. It goes from, like, in an instant, it'll go from being, like, 8.5 megabits per second to 0, and then 3, 1, 0, 8. Like, that'll be, like, a 5-second cycle. Like, I know as a visual novel, it probably doesn't have that much data to transfer. Like, mainly you're transferring the sound and like the little bit of text at the bottom, so they can actually probably skip a bunch of data to send, but still.
別にあんたを助けたいって思ったわけじゃないからな。私はあくまでまゆりを助けたいだけであって。とにかく私にはなぜかそんな錯覚が記憶のように残ってる。
So Kurisu's the same. She still has faint memories from previous world
自己分
lines.
析してみたけど、夢で見たものを現実と思い込んでるのか、単なる願望か、それぐらいの結論しか出なかった。
Dang it, stream. Samus, you had to say it's been perfectly fine for quite a while. You had to say it, didn't you? I'm kidding. Okay. Should be back for you, I hope. How much text did you miss? Probably nothing. Basically, they've just been talking. Christina said basically that she's been having images in her head that are basically the memories from the otherworld lines. I don't think you missed anything, because I think I was reading chat as it went down. I think it's all fine.
ただこれだけははっきりしてる。あんたはマユリを助けるべきなのよ。
怖くないのか。
Save Mayuri. I must undo the current world line. If I do that, Kurisu will die.
なんだか廃墟に迷い込んだみたい。
Kurisu suddenly changes the subject. He looks around the dark, empty stairwell.
まるで世界中の電源が切られて私たちだけ取り残されたみたい。ふと思うんだ。もしあんたがベータ世界線に行ったとする。みんなも一斉にそっちに移動するとしたら、私だけは移動できない。私だけが取り残される。そうしたら世界中がこの場所みたいになっちゃうのかな。
That's fair, Samus's. Yeah, if you need to go to bed, please, by all means.
所詮これも仮説の一つだけど。
俺は
Need to say
お
it.
前も救う。マユリだけじゃなくてお前も。
できもしないこと言わなくていい。
Kurisu cuts me off sharply, buries her face in her knees.
怖くないかって
Have a good night, Samus's.
さっき聞いた。怖いに決まってるでしょ。自分が消えるかもしれない。自分だけが取り残されるかもしれない。あるいはあんただけがこの世界線からいなくなるかもしれない。誰もあんたがいなくなったことを認識してない世界がずっと続いていて、私は何事もなかったかのようにアメリカに帰るかもしれない。かもしれない。かもしれない。かもしれない。
Thank you, Internet, for telling me that you suck.
そんないろんな可能性を考えて、その度に絶望的な気分になる。
I think we're gonna
でも
try and stop as close as we can to the 2-hour mark, just because Internet doesn't seem to be getting any better. Kurisu raises her head, spears me with her glare.
だからマユリを見殺しにしろなんて言えると思
クリス。
う？もうなんか寒いな。
Kurisu grabs her own arms. In the darkness, I see her shoulders shaking.
濡れてる服着てる青年。たくダメだ。こんなの全然論理的じゃない。仮説にすらなってない。全部根拠のない妄想。こんなしょうもない妄想を垂れ流す脳の機能をカットしてやりたい。
Your back just had to reset your router. Yeah, I mean, my router also seems... I don't know if it's my router or what. Something's not having a good day. Now she's talking to herself in an angry tone. Kurisu's always been calm when faced with the unknown. I admired her for that. Thought she was facing this calmly too, but I was wrong. Behind her cool facade, she was struggling to cope with the knowledge that her very existence was in jeopardy. She was fighting that fear all alone, and now it has finally come to the surface. Of course she's afraid. However bright she may be, she's still just an 18-year-old girl. Kurisu abruptly stands up. I realize that I no longer hear the sound of rain pounding on the roof.
聞いて、岡部。両方救うのは無理。そうでしょ。どうあがいたって確率は2分の1なの。
だが
じゃない。私の結論は変わらない。まゆりを助けて。
I hear the pain in her voice, and also the resolve. Kurisu has made up her mind. I look away and clench my fists. My nails dig into the palms of my hands.
そう簡単に諦めろっていうのか。お前を見捨てろっていうのか。そんなのできるはずがないだろう。
できるかできないかじゃない。あんたをやらなくちゃいけない。それしか道はない。
ダメだ。お前は俺たちの大切な仲間だ。俺はお前も見捨てない。
岡部。
She drops to her knees and grabs me by the collar. I gasp for breath as she stares into my eyes. Her eyes are hard and stern. It's always like this when she scolds me. Always the same glare.
他に解決策があるの？ないんでしょ。私はまゆりを犠牲にしてまで生きていたくない。もしまゆりを助けなかったらあんたを一生恨むから。
This can't be happening. Hate this choice with no right answer. Hate the universe for being so cruel. Most of all, hate myself for forcing Kurisu to speak these words. She is the one with the most to lose. Tears well up in my eyes, but I bite my lip and hold them back. Is there really no other way? Can't bear it. I look straight back at Kurisu as she holds me by the collar and tightly embrace her slender body. Her clothes are still wet from the rain, but all I feel is warmth radiating from the core of her
お
being.
前はここにいるのにこんなのあんまりだ。
岡部。
Tension drains from her back and her hands. She gives her whole body to my embrace.
ありがとう。私のためにそこまで苦しんでくれて。でももう十分。私は大丈夫だから。あとはまゆりのことだけ考えて。
Despite her fear, Kurisu has made her choice. Time for me to do the same. I need to decide, here and now, the future of the world, which friend to let die. Holding Kurisu tightly, I whisper into her ear.
すまない。
Meaningless apology.
俺はまゆりだけはどうしても救いたいから。
These words are a death sentence, but I force myself to speak them. It takes every ounce of willpower I possess.
お前を助けられない。
When I finish, I feel as if a great weight has left my shoulders. at the same time, as if 1,000 needles are stabbing into my heart. Kurisu weakly returns my embrace. Then she lets go and stands up.
さてと、
There's already a look of relief on her face.
先に帰る。
帰るって、どこへ？
To America?
ラボに決まってるでしょ。服を乾かさないと。シャワーも浴びたいし。
In that case, we should go back together. Before I can suggest it, Kurisu beats me the punch, as if she read my mind.
あんたはそこでずぶ濡れのまましばらく待ってて。わかった？
We can't go back together. That's her verdict.
わかった。
Hang my head and shut my eyes. Kurisu's footsteps fade into the distance. I wrap my arms around my body. Even though it's summer and sweltering hot, I can't stop my body from shaking. I realize that part of me is relieved that Kurisu left me alone. At least I won't have to face her again. Look upon the face of the girl I chose to die. I'm a coward. My self-loathing echoes in the darkness. I wait about 2 hours before returning to the lab. Kurisu's already gone when I get there. But she sent me a mail. See you. Cease to inquire what the future has in store, and take as a gift whatever the day brings forth. Horace, Italian philosopher. I'm going back to my hotel. Do what needs to be done. Good night. All she left is a single email. I sit down on the sofa while drying my hair with a towel. I look towards the PC in the corner of the room. It's already connected to the IBM 5100, ready for Daru to start hacking. I already got in touch with him. The hacking starts tomorrow at noon. I drove myself even further into a corner by telling that to Daru. Now I can't turn back, no matter how much I want to. I chose Mayuri. I will let Kurisu die. Cowering didn't soften the wrenching pain in my heart. Truth, I'm just riding on Kurisu's resolve. Mine is still a flimsy thing. Can't help but wonder, is this really okay? Really?
誰かいますか？
Mayuri opens the door and enters. For a moment, after she catches sight of me, she looks ready to burst into tears. That quickly gives way to a smile.
オカリンだ。
どうした？
なんとなく来てみたの。
Swallow hard. Maybe I should explain the situation to Mayuri. But I know she'll feel guilty if I tell her. Mayuri doesn't need to know. Everything will be okay as long as we crack CERN's database and reach the Beta World line.
最近ね、オカリンと話す時間ちょっと減っちゃった。でもね、オカリンの重荷にはなりたくないんだ。
And I really let it end like this? Shouldn't I tell her what Kurisu is sacrificing for her sake?
もしかしてシャワー浴びてたの？
Mayuri moves behind the sofa, grabs the bath towel on my head, and starts rubbing my hair dry.
オカリン、シャンプーのいい匂いがするね。
I didn't mind the towel so much, but then she buries her nose into my hair and starts sniffing.
やめんか。
I jerk my head away. Mayuri goes back to drying my hair.
今日ね、コミマ行かなかったよ。
なぜだ？
オカリンのこと気になっちゃったのです。オカリンの辛そうな顔を思い出したらね、コミマを楽しんでなんかいられないなって。だから有明まで行ったけど参加せずに帰ってきたの。
そうか。 悪かったな。心配かけて。
Should I tell her? Should I keep her in the dark?
最近ね、オカリンと話す時間ちょっと減っちゃった。だからね、マユシーは寂しくなっちゃったのかもしれないね。
マユリ、もし俺がお前に隠し事をしてるって言ったらどう思う？
実はオカリンとクリスちゃんは付き合っていますっていうびっくりなこと。
なぜそうなる？
でもね、オカリンとクリスちゃんはとっても仲がいいでしょ。二人はお似合いだと思うな。
そんな話をしているんじゃないんだ。
ああ、うん。全部話してほしいなんて思ってないよ。人質だからね。どっちかっていうと何にも教えてもらえないのが普通だもん。
そんな話をしているんじゃないんだ。
Mayuri's hand leaves my head. I look over my shoulder in a panic, thinking she's wandered off again. She's there. I grab her hand, perhaps more forcefully than I meant to.
マユシーはオカリンの重荷にはなりたくないよ。
Again.
だからオカリンが言ってくれるまで待つの。昨日もそう言ったよ。
一生言わないかもしれないぞ。
それはね、とっても気になっちゃうけど、でもしょうがないかな。
その隠していることがお前に関係していることでも。
マユシーに？
俺はお前を傷つけたくなくて話さないでいるんだ。
そのせいでオカリンは辛い顔してるのかな。だったらね、話してほしいな。オカリンが辛そうなの見たくないもん。
それでお前は傷ついてもいいっていうのか。
Mayuri replies, with a gentle smile. She nods without any hesitation. Her smile is so sincere, it strikes me speechless.
昨日もさっきも言ったよ。マユシーはオカリンの重荷になりたくないって。あのね、マユシーがおばあちゃんのことで苦しかった時、オカリンはマユシーを人質にしてくれたでしょ。だからね、もしオカリンが苦しい時はマユシーが力になってあげたいってずっと思ってたんだよ。マユシーなんかじゃちっとも役に立たないかもしれないけど。
Useful. Suddenly I remember. Mayuri is going to die tomorrow. I've been through it once before. Died protecting me. And her last words were,
やっとマユシーはオカリンの役に立てたよ。
but this is what she meant.
だからね、これ以上辛い顔しないでほしいな。
分かった。
That's how she feels. I'll tell her everything. I let go of Mayuri's hand and pat the sofa
ここ
beside
に
me.
座るんだ。
Mayuri does as she's told.
おやつ持ってきていい？
お前は空気が読めないな。
そうだね。
Don't think you'll want to eat after finding out you could turn into jelly. Mayuri sits up straight with her hands folded in her lap.
じゃあどうぞ。
これから話すことは 全部事実だ。お前が見た夢とも関係している。そして俺はこの後お前のために仲間を犠牲にするつもりだ。
オカリン。
Anxiety clouds Mayuri's face, but I ignore it and take her chin in my fingers. A switch has already flipped inside of me.
せいぜい後悔するがいい。この俺、狂気のマッドサイエンティストである法王院京馬が行ってきた恐るべき所業の数々を聞いてな。
So I begin, speaking as the mad scientist whose foolish experiments brought everything to ruin. I start with the first raid on the lab. I tell Mayuri how Moeka killed her. Next, I tell her about Suzuha and Ferris, about Lukiko, Moeka, Facebook, and Nae. I describe their fates in every detail. Finally, I tell her about Kurisu.
すなわちマキセ・クリスを生贄として俺は新たなる世界へと旅立つのだ。
There was a lot to explain. Mayuri kept asking questions, desperate to understand the strange concepts I was throwing at her. Thanks to that, the conversation went longer than expected. It's already getting late.
以上がこの俺法王院京馬が考えた壮大なる計画、その名もメイドインヘブンである。
Finally, it's over. Mayuri says nothing, staring at her hands, which are clenched into tiny, trembling fists. Looks ready to cry any second.
なぜそんな顔をしている。
Mayuri shakes her head and bites her lip.
オカリンもクリスちゃんも苦しんでたんだね。なのにマユシーはのんきにコスを作ってた。こんなのバカみたいだよ。マユシーは何にも知らなかった。
お前が責任を感じる必要はないのだ。全てはこの俺による計画なのだからな。幻滅したか、マユリ。だが俺は仲間を平気で犠牲にできる男。故にお前がベータ世界線に行きたくないと言ってもそれを聞き入れるつもりはない。
Whether you like it, or not. Nice typo.
お前には俺の人質として絶対に最後まで付き合ってもらうぞ。世界に訪れる混沌、これこそがシュタインズゲートの選択なのだ。
Mayuri ignores my performance, gets to her feet, and lurches towards the door. I quickly grab her by the wrist.
おい、どこ行く。
クリスちゃんに会いに行かなきゃ。ねえオカリン、クリスちゃんに会いたいよ。
There's no way I can refuse Mayuri's request. But I can say that this is where we will stop for today. Especially because I saw my internet was not doing so hot there again at the end. But yes, thank you for everyone who came.